You're listening to Now I've Heard Everything. Interviews from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s with voices from the past.
And I've dedicated my life primarily to being able to help African people to get in control of their lives, their political lives, their economic lives, their social and spiritual lives.
Activist, author, and hip-hop artist Sister Souljah. Today on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson. From her earliest days growing up in New York City and then later in New Jersey, Sister Souljah was an activist. Surrounded by the poverty and despair of urban neighborhoods, Sister Souljah made it her mission in life to change things for the better. And indeed, she became a strong voice for change through writing and film and music. In 1999, she wrote her first novel, a book called Coldest Winter Ever. And that's when I had the chance to meet her. So here now, from 1999, Sister Souljah.
This is a book about an urban female from Brooklyn, New York, and she basically is a very complicated character in the sense that she's from the street. She has a lot of street knowledge. She has a lot of business acumen. She's aggressive. She definitely doesn't perceive herself as a victim, but she lives in the projects, which are traditionally a place where people who are living in poverty would be. But because her father is a prominent drug dealing force in the community, she enjoys a wealthy lifestyle. So it's kind of a book of serious opposites going on at the same time, where you have the project setting, you have this rich girl living in the projects, a black girl who's urban, and she perceives herself basically as the queen of the alleyways, you know, the ghetto princess, that type of thing. So the story is about her adventures, her struggles, and her machinations, basically.
And she has many of the above.
Yes, yes.
Many of which are brought on by the necessity of the wage of the family that she lives in. And this is not an ordinary family that she's part of.
Right. Well, she learns a lot of lessons from day one of her existence that her father kind of drills in her head in such a loving way. And she has such a great, deep affection for her father, you know, that every word that he says in her mind is like a diamond or a ruby or a gold piece. And so she treasures the street knowledge that he passed down to her, and she uses it in every scenario that she gets in, to not have the obvious answer to things or the mainstream answer to things, but to have the answer that she learned is the best response to get that quick cash.
How'd she get the name Winter?
I gave her the name Winter because I think she represents a lot of the trends that I see happening in America right now. Meaning that I feel that we're kind of losing our sense of love, loyalty, honor, respect. If we look at the ghetto and ghetto youth, they are living in such an impoverished setting, but their material wants are so incredibly high that it doesn't match up with the economy of the ghetto. Then if we look at mainstream America, in the presidential situation, we're involved in discussions about a man with extramarital affairs and a sordid affair and all types of situations. And then if we look at the recent Columbine school shooting that happened in Colorado, we're dealing with young people who have all the material trappings, but still don't have enough in their soul and their spirit to feel satisfied with life. So I describe this entire era as a winter era, and I gave the character the name Winter because she represents the era in which we live.
I've been reading lately some of the comments on the internet about you, people who have heard you speak, people who have read the things that you've written, and obviously people look to you for some guidance through the winter, if you will. Will they be looking to a book like this, even though it's fiction, for some wisdom, for some guidance?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I'm an activist, and that's what people have to know about me. I graduated from Rutgers University. I've traveled around the world, and I've dedicated my life primarily to being able to help African people in this country and in other countries to get in control of their lives, their political lives, their economic lives, their social and spiritual lives. And so any product that I produce is always going to have some information, some gems, some jewels in it for the person to be able to use in their own life to make them more powerful.
But who was it that said, they say a novel is supposed to be entertainment. Who was it that said if you want to send a message, contact Western Union?
I don't know who said that, but he probably wasn't a very wise man. The only thing that I can say is that one of my favorite authors is Richard Wright. And I think that he packed very powerful punches in his novels. And he was a guy who, in a conservative era, made people feel very uncomfortable by discussing issues that they didn't want to confront or deal with. And the way he discussed those issues was not only through nonfiction, but through fictional characters. And so The Coldest Winter Ever is, in my opinion, an extremely exciting, unpredictable, page-turning story, but at the same time, those punches are definitely packed in there.
Because it did occur to me, I mean, if you're going to write a novel, you do have to tell a good story, and you told a good story here, but sometimes it must be like wearing two hats. You've got the novelist, you got to worry about plot and characters and dialogue, but then you've got the serious things that you want to say, too. It's almost like two books in one.
Yeah, people say that to me a lot, but I tell you, it's like if I were Whitney Houston, I would wonder every day how I sing, so beautifully, right? But it's just a gift that she has from God. And so writing for me, I think, is a gift because I really don't sit down with a pen and paper and say, what is going to be my plot? How is it going to unfold? What is going to be the theme? It's just that I sit down and I write, and it comes out as this multi-layered, multi-dimensional creation.
Did you know how the book was going to end when you started writing?
No, but I knew that what I wasn't going to do was give people a predictable, neat Hollywood experience. I was going to give you a novel that every time you think you know what's going to happen, something completely different that may not be the opposite of what you thought, but something completely different than what you thought is going to happen.
That makes a good novel. You got to keep them off balance.
Thank you.
But you've drawn some very, very strong characters in this book. I mean, it's almost like you know these people.
Right. Well, it's a reality-based novel. It's not based on any particular people who I actually know, but I am an observer. Sometimes I call myself a ghetto psychiatrist, because I watch what goes on in my community. I love my community, and I definitely want to be a part of building my community. But in the process of observing people all the time, it helps your writing because you notice every little thing, whether it's a twitch of the eye or somebody that continually shakes their leg or taps their toe. And I think that the strength of the book is in the details.
It also occurred to me, I mean, you're a veteran, a talented performer. Performers have to be those very keen observers of human nature too, don't they?
Sure. I think anytime you're trying to entertain people, they don't want anything ordinary, So you kind of like have to have your finger on the pulse of what people are used to seeing, and you have to take what they're used to seeing and double that and magnify it and make it better and greater and slicker and faster and cuter or uglier. You have to just make it entertaining to them.
Let me ask you, what's compare and contrast? Remember those questions we used to get in high school, compare and contrast?
Yes.
Compare and contrast what it feels like to be performing before a large group of live people who are applauding your every move in real time as it's happening, compared to the thrill you get when you write a book in isolation. It's all you, just by yourself, typing words on a page, and maybe months later, somebody will come up to you and say how much they liked your book.
Well, it's interesting. What a book does is it gives you an opportunity to not be interrupted by even the slightest thing like applause. You know what I mean? So a book is an opportunity to be so incredibly focused and highly concentrated that you can actually create a book in the same way that somebody weaving a fine rug or a fine piece of cloth can create, something that's so beautiful that you don't even want to walk on it or don't even want to wear it. So that's a difference with a book. With a performance, all the feelings in the room are tangible, and you're operating off of the energy. And so it's kind of not just about the performer. It's about the performer, the energy that you're getting from the audience, the responses that you're getting, the nerves that you're tapping. So the creation that you give back to the audience doesn't really belong only to the performer. It belongs to everyone in the room.
They're in on the creation too.
Right. Whereas a novel, it's between you, the author, and that pen and paper, you know.
It's very personal, isn't it?
Yes. Very personal. And I mean, I take it very, very seriously. I mean, I put my stories together, and to me, it's like when you were 10 years old and your father buys you that accelerated puzzle that has 3,800 pieces. You mean you have to like put it together correctly because you want that final picture to be something that's extremely captivating and compelling.
It's almost, I guess, performing would be almost like having a jigsaw puzzle with 10,000 other people helping you, and you don't know what it's going to look like at the end.
Exactly. Exactly. Because you can say one thing to one crowd that moves it in one direction, and you might go into another stage, another area, another environment, and that crowd might not even respond to that the same way. With my book, no matter who you are, you get the same thing. And I think for a lot of people that's exciting, because if you're not from the ghetto, you're not urban, you don't know these people, you have the best seat in the house. I mean, you are almost like a video you are almost like a video camera lodged perfectly into the wall of somebody's private existence. And that's the power of a novel.
That is it indeed. Is this a novel for adults only?
No. What I say to book buyers is this is a novel for everyone except somebody, say, under 14 years of age. I think 14 for me is the optimal age. But in some communities where we have young girls and boys who are living in what I would call the fast lane, I would say that it could go even lower than 14, because I don't believe in hiding information from children, especially if you're hiding information that gives them a context when they're living in a world that doesn't give them a context and they're still confronted by that same information. So if you have young people who are considered to be at risk, or living in dangerous environments, or not-for-profits that work with young kids who fit this description, or Planned Parenthood workshops, or Board of Education, people who have curriculums that cannot connect properly with the children. I'd say this is the book for all of those agencies, for all of those not-for-profits, for all of those boards of educations that are trying to reach a certain population of kids that traditional teaching styles have been unable to do.
Maybe there are 12-year-olds out there who this book will help explain the context of certain things that they see every day.
Oh, no doubt about it. And what I'm not giving you, like usually when you see a hip hop artist, they say, well, I'm just rhyming about what I see. In this particular book, I'm showing you what I see, but I'm giving you a backdrop to what I see, so that it's not like I'm just showing you a bunch of negative images and I leave it up to you to decide whether it's negative or not. It's that I'm putting this so much in context that you're getting the point real quick. I'd say that this is the most powerful say no to drugs story that approaches it in a way that somebody in that environment who would either be taking the drugs or selling the drugs is going to get to the last page and say, you know what? I get the point. And I think that that's what I was able to achieve through the Coldest Winter Ever. One question that people normally ask me is this book primarily for women or is it for men? Because we have a whole genre of books coming out now that women are really into. This book is for men and women. And all of my male characters are as developed and as complicated as my female characters. And so you'll see an array of male personalities in this book. And I think that men will definitely enjoy that.
It's not a man-bashing book.
Oh, no. It's not a man-bashing book. And let me just tell you, my husband is in love with the main character in this book. And I'm like, I'm your wife, love me. And he loves the main character in the book, and I think that everybody else will too.
Sister Souljah will be 60 next month. Now you can get a copy of The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Souljah by tapping on the link in our show notes or by going to our website, heardeverything.com. We may earn an Amazon commission if you make a purchase. Now while you're at heardeverything.com, check out my 1999 interview with Bell Hooks.
If Bell Hooks were writing 16 frivolous novels, I don't think anyone would care. But when you write the kind of books that people tell you, this book changed my life, those books, I think, are often perceived as a threat.
And my 2003 conversation with the great Alice Walker.
With poetry, the poem dictates everything. They're like people. Some people are very tall and skinny. Some people are short and plump. You know, poems are like that. They can be long or short, but they totally dictate how they will be, and nothing is wasted.
And of course, don't forget, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can find us right here, everywhere you listen to podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything, maybe you know him as Lieutenant Frank Drebin. Whatever you know him as, don't call him Shirley. My 1993 interview with Leslie Nielsen.
I read the script and said, ooh, this doctor is funny, and this is a parody of all of the stupid... I had been laughing at myself for years in watching, reruns of shows that I had done. But to me, my reaction was, this is a comedy. It's like manna from heaven.
That's next time on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.